Welcome, everybody. I can't believe I'm saying this, but right now, a very gracious man named John has allowed me to drive his 2005 Carrera S, and it is lovely. And I have the PASM on, and because of all the suspension upgrades I've done to my car, it feels pretty much the same. Steering feels unbelievable. It feels so good. So we're just gonna wait for him to come back around, and hopefully we can go for a longer drive later on. But so far, what I can tell, it's just a bigger, faster 996, and it feels incredible. I can't even, you're like, do a little pan around. I cannot believe that he has let me do this. The seats look brand new. Look at the crest behind you on the headrest.
Oh yeah.
I always wanted these. I'm gonna get my seats reupholstered eventually and get the crests put on. I'm gonna save this gas and turn it off while we're sitting here. We'll resume this later. This is awesome. Oh no, I don't want to hurt it.
You're not gonna hurt it.
I don't know what else to do.
One more time.
There, I'll do it one more time. I know it's been a while. I wanted to come back and take some time to make this video today because I got an amazing opportunity that every young Porsche enthusiast has, you know, at some point desperately wanted to do. Here in New Jersey, everything is, as you see, salty and cold, and so not much fun for sports cars. But my girlfriend and I were down in Florida, and we met a lovely man who happened to have a 997.1 Carrera S, and he had it since new, had done some minor modifications, just some cosmetic stuff with wheels, and he had put a short throw shifter on it. But other than that, it was a completely stock 40,000 mile 997 Carrera S in black metallic. I don't know which black metallic because it has some blue flake in it, and in the sun, the car looks blue, like a dark blue. It's just a beautiful, beautiful 997 in immaculate condition. His car has pretty much every option. It had the optional sport mode and PASM and sports exhaust and everything that you would want on a 997 Carrera S. I'll spare some details because hopefully I'll be able to interview him later or, you know, introduce him to the world of YouTube in some way. This man is one of the loveliest and most gracious people that I've ever met, and so he said, you know what, why don't we go to a parking lot, a big open area, and we can have some fun. You can grab a video of you driving my car, and then afterwards we'll just go for a drive. And so me, him, and my girlfriend went after lunch, and we drove out to this parking lot, and I got to drive this 911 for, I'd say, the next 45 minutes I got to drive this car for, and I had driven it around a complex the day before. He saw how happy it made me to be around this 997, and he really wanted to make sure that I could drive it, which was unbelievably nice. Unbelievably nice. As I was driving it, I made a lot of mental notes because I wanted to make a video of a 996 owner's impression of driving a 997 Carrera S. And so in this, I'll go from the beginning. Right away, when I got in the car, the first thing I noticed was it is strikingly similar. My car's a very early 996, so of course the interior quality was a bit better. You know, everything he had is, his entire car is coated in leather. Everything is in pristine, immaculate condition, given that he has 120,000 less miles on his car than mine. The door handle, even though it's a different shape and style, feels exactly the same, does the same thing. Everything is in almost exactly the same place, except he had a bunch of extra infotainment buttons, but you know, everything is where you would expect it to be on a 911, apart from the window switches, because in the 997, on the side, on the door, I believe there was a lock and unlock button, and there was the window switches, and mine are in the middle, and my lock and unlock button is on the center console, but his were on the door, and I thought that was cool, a cool little update. The second thing I noticed was I have the early 4-spoke 996 steering wheel, and he has the 997 Carrera S steering wheel, the very desirable one with the little swooshy symbol in the middle. And so that steering wheel feels great. I think it's a little smaller, but also a lot thicker than my steering wheel, and it has those hand grips at 10 and 2, and so from a, you know, anyone who's like really into racing and tracking will tell you it's a much better steering wheel because you can really at 9 and 3 grab your fingers all the way around each side of the steering wheel, and it feels really nice and solid and heavy and all that. The second thing I noticed was that you could definitely feel that his car was a bit heavier. I think it weighs about 300-400 pounds more, and the weight is distributed more evenly, so the front end felt a little heavier. My steering is a lot lighter because I don't even have the spare tire in this car. There's pretty much no weight in the front of my car. And so in the front of his car, you know, the way that the 997 is set up, I definitely felt a little bit more weight in the steering wheel. Both models are rear wheel drive, so it didn't really make a difference from that standpoint. And then from a shifter perspective, his clutch felt identical to my clutch. The travel was the same distance, the bite point was almost exactly the same, and so getting in it and driving it away, I was just like driving my own car, and that to me was like fantastic. I want to drive a 991 and a 992 now, and just to see how the manual has progressed. But yeah, so I hopped in, and my car is lowered with the Bilsteins that are stiffer on it. So his car without the PASM on felt much more comfortable. Miles more comfortable than my car. Obviously it's very planted and it feels very confidence inspiring, but also when you go over a bump, it's not sending a shock all the way up to your neck like in my car. But then when you hit the PASM button and you put it in sport mode and it drops and everything gets stiffer, it felt almost identical to my car. And you really notice it at slow speeds because every bump, you know, the car is going left and right and jiggling up and down and all that. And that is what my car feels like. And when you put the PASM on in his car, that's what it felt like. So the number one most noticeable difference between my car, a 996, and his car being the 997 Carrera S is the extra 0.4 liters of displacement. That car is making serious power. I think it's, let me look this up to be exact, but I know his car makes quite a bit more power than my car, and especially more torque from the extra displacement, and low down from about 2,000 RPM, that thing is a rocket ship. I mean, I just think back to the clip of Jeremy Clarkson driving the brand new Carrera S around, you know, the Top Gear test track from 2005 or 2006, and I'm like, this car definitely feels like you could just go crazy fast, do crazy slides and whatnot, and when the PASM is on, it's like you feel like you could do anything in that car. It just feels so solid and so good, and yeah, and the engine has power forever. I never floored it, and I never got anywhere near the top of the RPM range, and yet it's like you look down and the speedometer is showing a speed that you just, how did we get there so quickly? And again, this is a 17-year-old car at this point, and it still feels faster than every modern car I've ever driven. I've driven an E92 M3 a few times, and it's that level of power. If not, because it's so much lighter, it accelerates a bit faster, at least on the street. Either way, me getting into Porsches growing up, the 997 was what was out when I was a very small child, and so I always liked them the most. And when I first wanted to buy a 911, I wanted to save up and get the 997, and then I ended up with my early 99 car, which I'm very glad I've ended up with. But being able to sort of like meet that hero, you know, was every bit of as awesome as I would have expected it to be and hoped for it to be. And from a 996 owner's perspective, I can definitely see where there's been progression in design. You know, it feels more usable, it feels a lot faster, it feels like you can corner at whatever speed you want and it will do exactly what you want. And it feels very solid, and the build quality is great, and the interior still looks brand new after all these years. And after I got out of it, I thought to myself, though, and this is sort of like final thoughts, you know, I thought to myself, I'm glad that I got the car that I did, because as much as this car is just amazing, I still like my car better. You guys might think I'm crazy because I'm saying I like a base, one of the first 996s off the line, better than a 997 Carrera S, one of the best cars ever made. I mean, some of that is just down to the fact that I've customized my car to be the way that I want it to. I mean, now after driving his car, I really want that short throw shifter because it feels so good. You know, you go online, you read all about how the build quality of the early 99 cars was spectacular and they feel very solid and stuff. And after coming out of that 997, which is notoriously a better built car, I felt good in that my car doesn't really have creaks and rattles. His car didn't have creaks and rattles at all. The door panel feels very solid. Everything feels very solid about my car. It felt so similar to his car, just without the power and without being as modern. It feels like a stripped back version of that car, if you know what I mean. It feels like needless to say, it feels more analog. It feels more, the 996 compared to that 997, even though the 997 is way faster, the 996 feels like you can have more fun in it because it is less confidence inspiring. It is less quick in a straight line. It's less technologically advanced, and so it really is just sort of like a mechanical feeling machine. And the 997 feels like a very analog version of a new age of cars to me. The 997 feels like the most analog version of a modern car you'll ever get into, and the 996 feels like the most modern version of a classic car that you're gonna get into. And me being a sucker for old things and sort of that mechanical feeling, I prefer my early 996. But if it was down to a coin toss, it's a win-win. And hopefully one day I can get myself my own 997 Carrera S. But in the meantime, I'm glad that I got to drive that car because it made me feel incredibly happy that I was able to do something I've wanted to do for so long, but also incredibly happy that what I have is right for me, you know? And that's great. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. You know, it's just an overall happy feeling with this, and it's an overall happy situation. So let me know your thoughts below on if you've driven both a 996 and a 997, what your thoughts on the differences between the two were, which one you prefer, you know, all that stuff I want to know in the comments. So let me know, and I will see you guys in the next video. Please subscribe. We just hit 3,000 subscribers, which is always cool. So I will see you guys in the next video, and take care. Bye, camera. I sound ridiculous, but you have no idea how long I've wanted to do this.
Are you happy?
I'm resetting his auto windows. There you go. It worked. I don't know if he knows how to reset those, but I've just saved him a little bit.
I'm sure he does.
Probably. I mean, he's had this thing since 05. Holy shit. I'm gonna have to block that out. This thing's incredible. I'll shut it off while I'm waiting.
Cut out the part where I said, "Are you happy?" twice.